What is up, everybody? Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. It's NFL Week 14 now. We're here for player projections. I'm going to be joined shortly by one of the most accurate fantasy football rankers and projectors in the game, the odds maker, Sean Koerner. We're going to project our top five. We're going to talk about guys we're high and low on. We'll throw some props out there as well for each of the four skill positions. Quick reminder, all of our fantasy content is available right now over on fantasylabs.com. Fantasy Labs NFL includes in-season ranks, waiver wire tips, DFS tools and models, and much more. Be sure to use code FLEX20 for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/flex. Koerner, what's going on? Hope you had a good Thanksgiving and you enjoyed what was a pretty good slate. Got to give the schedule makers props, but how was your Thanksgiving and who we got for our cardio kings? You can jump right into that after.
Yeah, it was good. I went 7-1 on props over the weekend, and the only loss was Max Brosmer's over, which I don't think people realize when you have the over on passing yards, it's okay if they're kind of shitty, especially in the first half because it forces him to throw. But that didn't help him out. And that one pass to Jordan Addison that Addison dropped, he probably would have gotten 30, 40 yards. That actually would have won the Triple Crown bet that I had at 30-1. Because Darnold only threw for 120-something yards, and Addison would have led the game in receiving if he caught that, and Walker led the game in rushing yards. So I was that close to actually cashing on Brosmer doing something. But yeah, other than that, had a great week. And belated congrats on week 12 on Fantasy Pros. You finished first. They always come out with those results after we're done recording, so we don't know how we did this week. But congrats on another first place finish last week.
Appreciate you. Yeah, man. It's just high variance, I guess, this year for me. I always seem to be like all over the place in terms of the consensus, but appreciate it. And yeah, I'll just say with Brosmer, I mean, when I saw the Vikings inactives, I did start to get worried because just for the passing yards, not for the game, which I should have been a lot more worried about. But because they had Ben Sims and the other tight end Urasek active and CJ Ham. So that I started looking into I just did some quick back of the envelope math and in my sheet when I was essentially teams get 15% more heavy personnel per added tight end. And so that was just not that was just kind of signaling that they were either going to go run heavy or lower his his ADOT based on my prior. So I was like, oh fuck, this is it was worth two or three attempts right there. That for, and he didn't really do anything, but it's just
going down by 20 plus points always helps. And always for the show, it's whichever prop has moved the least is the one I'm going to go with, and that's probably not
fair,
not the best one. If I'm being honest, I had Kittle under 4.5 receptions at -105, and by Sunday morning it was -165, so can't go with that. And he was the one. He had such a wide range of outcomes. I think we could all admit that. And that was probably the tail end on the shitty side when it comes to him. But moving on, this is now JJ McCarthy's team this week and going forward. So
fuck that dude. Fuck that dude too. I mean, just all these Vikings quarterbacks.
Oh my god, I feel bad for
Carson
Justin
Wentz,
Jefferson.
McCarthy. Yeah, bro. Man. I mean, I was ready for him to just finally turn it around, and it's just another just disaster.
Brutal.
This is who was it? It was Tyreek Hill and Waddle when Tua was out for 5 or 6 games.
Skylar Thompson and
Huntley, I think, had a game in there, but yeah, it was bad.
Tim Boyle? Was Tim Boyle? I feel like he was always.
I think they went against Tim Boyle. I think they blew him out. You had the over on his pass attempts because I think you thought they were going to blow him out, and they did blow him out. And he he still got there. He got benched, but he got there. All right, wait. Who do we got for our cardio kings before we get off the plot? We're losing the plot already.
So tight end was Jatavion Sanders with 14 routes, no targets. Not too surprising there. They have a 3-way committee. Sometimes, he's going to run enough routes and not get a target. So I'm not too shocked by that. Wide receiver was Xavier Weaver. 21 routes, no targets. Once again, we have a Cardinal featured. Maybe just the fact that Jacoby's, throwing it 50 plus times a game. You just have so many guys running routes. One of them might not see a target, so not too surprising there. I think Weaver came in when Marvin Harrison Jr. Left the game, so didn't really have a game plan for him. So yeah, Weaver was the cardio king of week 13.
Yeah, it's like they're another one with kind of like a weird mix in terms of who's running routes against who. Like you usually have just a super high target rate tight end in McBride, but then Higgins is more like, he's higher than, he's supposed to be higher than a normal tight end. He doesn't get those actual targets, but that just lowers the guy behind him because he's usually ahead of whoever that receiver would be, whether it was like Zay Jones or even Wilson wasn't getting targets in that role essentially earlier in the year. So yeah, it's more of definitely a team thing because we see it every week where there's like somebody who, like Christian Kirk, he had a really good game a couple weeks ago, right? Or a pretty good game, and then last week it was just
game of the year,
nothing. Yeah, so there's like coaches and quarterbacks. They're probably talking amongst themselves with the receivers, like, all right, this week you're going to be more of a decoy. Amari Cooper was like that for the Bills for like the entire the last 7 or 8 games that he was with them last year. Just did absolutely just ran to wherever the play wasn't if it was a pass, and just ran to block somebody if it was a run. That was all he did.
That'll be Brandon Cook's role down the stretch.
Nah, he ain't blocking nobody. He's just gonna get cut like Ray McLeod. It comes down to that. That was kind of a weird signing though. He doesn't strike me as the guy that's gonna just win in that area. But I guess they also got that's why they got Gabe Davis, who is kind of the opposite. All right. That was a lot. That was a lot. Before we get to our top 5 quarterbacks, week 14, who are we looking at in the top 5? 4 teams on bye. So who we got? No Jackson Dart this week, I guess.
No Dart, no Bryce Young, no Drake May, more importantly, and no Brock Purdy.
Yep. So May is the one guy that would probably be in there, but who are we looking at for our top 5 this week?
I got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I got the same 5 but different order. I got Allen, Prescott, Mahomes, Hurts, Jackson, and it gets really shaky after. Mahomes tough matchup, but should probably be okay at home. Big game for the Chiefs. But Hurts. Do we have any confidence in him versus a zone heavy defense? No. And then Lamar Jackson is like, oh my God, the Bengals' strength of schedule is probably all messed up now. Their defensive schedule strength, they probably rebounded. They're probably going to be 18th in defensive DVOA after that because it's what the hell, man.
How close do you have Stafford to your top 5? Because one slight tweak, and he's in my top 5. I might have to make that tweak.
Yeah, 6. He's QB 6.
Because now they have the Xavier Smith role, the old Deshaun Jackson role. Now you have a deep. Well, yeah.
Don't just forget about him. He was supposed to be back. He was 51% route rate this year, very quietly.
So he could
no targets.
Right. I think Deshaun Jackson's a better comp because he was actually seeing targets in that role. But Stafford cleared my touchdown bet a couple weeks ago. I think he might repass up 22.5 passing touchdowns the rest of the season too. He's just been unbelievable. Didn't really have that good of a game last week, but doesn't he always struggle in the rain? Am I getting that correctly, or
Yeah. He always has one of those kind of late in the year. He just has these outdoor clunkers, kind of. It wasn't really a clunker per se, but he definitely kind of, because he's playing in LA most of the year. It's warmer even in the outdoor games. So I remember there was a game against the Jets, I think, at the tail end of last year, where because Rodgers was chucking it to Adams all game. So that's probably where the Rams decided they wanted Adams. Now that I think about it, but he's good for a couple of those down the stretch each year. He is what? He seems older than he is. Is he 40 yet? He's not 40, right?
He's pushing it, probably 39, right? 37. My bad.
Yeah.
Still turning 38 in a couple months, so getting there.
Yeah. still has a few. I mean, Rodgers was not throwing as many touchdowns to Adams, but he was kind of chucking it around at 40 plus too. So
Did you see that picture of him just beat to shit with the bloody nose and the tape? Yeah, it was like you saw the meme. I retweeted it. Yeah, it was like there's a meme. It's like Aaron Rodgers looks like he tried to rob Kevin McAllister's house.
Oh man,
from Home Alone. Oh my god, just hilarious.
That's a throwback. All right. Now that we've aged ourselves, let's let me get. Oh yeah, who are we high on? I'm all over the place. I'm like, where are we even? We're still on the second thing in the outline.
It's week 14. We're in midseason. We know where we can stall. We're gonna just plow through this. I'm high on Dak Prescott. He was my QB3 facing the Lions here on Thursday night, but he's just playing at a really high level right now with back-to-back 300 plus yard passing games. Has arguably the best wide receiver duo right now with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, and the Lions have allowed pretty big games to Jameis. They allowed 366 yards, 2 touchdowns to him. Didn't he score a touchdown as a receiver too?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, in that game. So
33 yards, I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they're just racking up. And Jordan Love, you were high on him last week. That was a great call. 234 yards, 4 touchdowns. He cleared my prop on that 4th down conversion by 2 yards. So love that play. But Dax has been playing at a high level, and he's been using his legs a lot more recently. Our guy Gilles hit his touchdown bet the other week. So if you look at the last 5 games, he has at least 30 plus rushing yards or a rushing touchdown in 3 of those, which is kind of rare for him. But he's bringing back his rushing upside that he used to have back in the day. So just having said all that, and with kind of the turmoil in the top 5, outside of Josh Allen facing the Bengals, Dak's in a really sneaky spot, and he could end up being my QB2 by the end of the week. Right now I have Lamar barely ahead of him, but yeah, as of now, Dak's a clear top 3, maybe top 2 option for me this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's my QB2. Yeah, no, he's my QB2 actually. So him and Mahomes are tied. So nice. They actually it doesn't matter. I guess it's just like flip flop for some reason, but they're literally tied. So, but they are significantly behind Allen for me actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Dak number 2 definitely. I do have more confidence in him, just eye test wise right now over Mahomes, just because Houston's defense still going to be pretty good. Still an outdoor game for Mahomes, where it's Prescott. It's not. I mean, obviously I'm factoring that in already with the initial projections, but yeah, I have Dak. It's just the rushing, for Mahomes, which is a little more high variance that could kind of be the equalizer. But I'm high on Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. He's a guy that I believe you said you have him QB 15. So yeah, he's right. He's pushing that that startable range for me as well. And going up against Miami, it's a pretty good matchup. It's been a pretty good matchup for most of the year. They've also played just a schedule that is not great at all. So like Taylor here because he can move around, and late in the year, always like these quarterbacks that there's just a lot more unpredictability. Guys on defense are going down. Some defenses are getting healthier. This outdoor games that could be weird, whether it's humidity or whatever it is. So rain. So I like a guy like Taylor that can move around, as opposed to somebody like on the other side of that matchup, like Tua, who I think he could be in the discussion potentially, just because the Jets aren't really a respected defense, but they've been solid, especially given if you adjust for Sauce Gardner being out, they've been pretty good. Regardless of that, they just don't get turnovers. So don't really want to go with somebody like Tua. Would love to go with somebody like Tyrod if I don't have like one of those top 10 guys. I think we talked about Trevor Lawrence is probably one of those only other guys if you don't have like a Brissett that you picked up or somebody like that. It's been kind of weak on the streaming market over these past few weeks, but I like Tyrod to beat his ECR. So if you don't get Trevor Lawrence and there's no Brissett, and Stroud is kind of, I mean, he's on that borderline too. So I would feel good with Tyrod here, and we could be without Herbert too, right? Trey Lance, where would he be ranked if he ends up making a start?
We might have to find out, but Yeah. So that's the guy I'm low on, Justin Herbert. Obviously, he's up in the air right now, needing surgery on his non-throwing hand. Had surgery yesterday, but he's labeled day to day, and it sounds like he should suit up. And he gets an extra day. They play Monday night, so this is a situation where we don't even know if he's playing. But assuming he does suit up, I still probably wouldn't start him because this is a brutal matchup at Philly. And we've seen in the past, whenever he's hurting, whether it's ribs, legs, knee, foot, he just tends to dial back his rushing upside. So I would imagine with a broken hand, he might have a good cast where he feel comfortable running, but he might not use his legs as much. Already a brutal matchup already. So I'm projecting him closer to QB 19 this week. So the fact that he plays Monday night, there's a chance that we don't even know if he's playing yet. I would just start making plans for somebody else right now. Again, you mentioned like Tyrod Taylor. I have C.J. Stroud ranked higher, Trevor Lawrence. There's just better options this week, and then hopefully after playing through, he gets through the game fine. He's closer to 100% next week. But yeah, there's a chance that we do see Trey Lance end up starting here though.
Yeah, I think what you meant to say was like he's hurt his hand, so he might not pass as much because this defense is really good against the pass. Like if he's using his legs too much, that's not good either. Because he can throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
So you want him doing that. I mean, obviously it's his other one, but
yeah,
this Eagles defense pass is a run funnel, number 6 in DVOA against the pass, number 22 against the run. So yeah, I don't have confidence I wouldn't have confidence in Herbert either way. I just thought it was hilarious that what was it, coming out of their bye a couple weeks ago or going into their bye, they got blown out by the Jaguars, and Herbert was out of the game by like the third quarter. And Trey Lance was in, and somehow he's still hurt and in danger of missing games, and they pulled him in the last game too. Unless he was already hurt. I didn't see anything about that, but it's possible he was hurt then at that point. But yeah, this is we see this from Herbert. I feel like clockwork. With every time the Chargers suffer O-line injuries, it's just for some reason it's just like the end of the world. They can't just suffer like an offensive line injury. It has to be like Justin Herbert is just getting YA tittled up out there.
Yeah.
In you know what I mean? It's just inexplicable. But I'm low on the other quarterback in that matchup, Jalen Hurts, and this is just a kind of a matchup thing, and just a Jalen Hurts thing. But Jalen Hurts, tends to struggle more against zone coverages. He's, one of those quarterbacks that it just doesn't come as easy to him with the progressions and the reads, and he tends to just, not take as many risks and just can pull the ball down. And we've even heard, some frustrations about that. So I do think the Chargers will continue to lean into that coverage. They've been one of the most zone heavy teams. Them and the Raiders tend to be some of the most zone heavy teams each and every week. Most teams around 60, 40, 70, 30, but the Chargers usually can push, into the 80% a lot of the times in their zone coverage rate. So not much man for Jalen Hurts to take advantage of. Now that means, he would have to run more, but then the more you play zone, the more eyes you have on him. So don't really love the matchup, and that's just not even accounting for the fact that he's been struggling. I mean, I think he was kind of lucky to even put up the numbers he did over the past few weeks, considering, they go completely cold against Dallas, but he's already put up, 3 passing touchdowns against a bad defense, and then they do nothing for the rest of the game. And then against the Bears, they just did nothing for most of the game against another bad defense. So, at any time, these scoring droughts are going to really kind of affect Hurts. They've been affecting Saquon Barkley, which I think we kind of touched on last week, heading into the week. But at any moment, they could affect everyone in this offense. I mean, funny enough, A.J. Brown's been the one producing over these past few weeks, and we know how upset he was for most of the year. So I'm kind of worried about Hurts in that top 5 as well. I do feel a little bit better about having a guy like Stafford now. He's not going to run at all, so I would hope he gets like one of those. Didn't Joe Flacco get a touchdown this year rushing? We need one of those from Stafford too. So, but so that might be the equalizer. But yeah, I think Hurts is trending down. This reminds me a lot of that 2023 season when they started. what was it, 9-1 or something like that. And then they just, by the time they got to the playoffs, we were all fading them against the Buccaneers, who were an upstart team at that time. Baker wasn't even like full Baker yet. And we were fading the Eagles there. And that's why they lost that game handily to the Bucs. So it's kind of trending in that direction again. Saquon can't run and Hurts isn't throwing the ball well. Or making, he's trying to not turn it over, which I think is not what you want out of him going forward. So low on Hurts. What do we got for a prop at quarterback for week 14?
Yeah, so someone that listens to our show on Twitter goes by Juice was asking like our thoughts on Lamar Jackson this week and going forward. So I just tried to make a prop with Lamar. So I'm going to do, you pick who has more fantasy points this week, Dak Prescott or Lamar Jackson. I actually have them tied, but just your thoughts on just him right now, and like, is he going to bounce back from last week? Are we going to see his rushing upside get better now that, hopefully his hamstring's getting better, but thoughts on Lamar this week and kind of going forward?
He's a shell of himself over the past 4 weeks.
Yeah.
He is probably not going to run that much more because Baltimore, despite that loss to Cincinnati, is still trying to make a playoff push. And so I think, when he does run, it's one of those things where you kind of have to look at the expected touchdowns too, not just the yardage. Because, I think there was a few weeks ago where I was hearing that they were going to try to run him more around the goal line, and hasn't really happened. Their red zone offense has been broken, but he's the guy that's going to pick up most of his yards on scrambles. It's not necessarily going to correlate with his touchdowns going up. So, I mean, even if he picks up, another, 15, 20 yards a game rushing, I don't know if that's necessarily going to impact the bottom line as much as we think it is, because it's probably just going to come out of his passing yards, which have also been shaky as of, pretty much the entire year. And this, his yards per attempt definitely is probably a little, like his expected yards per attempt, probably even a little lower than even it has been in his career, because they're really leaning into that heavy personnel, especially since Ricard returned, which is coinciding with Lamar kind of, getting into this funk. It's been Ricard, it's been likely Andrews. You only have like one or two wide receivers out there, so it's going to be hard to get 8 yards an attempt or whatever Jackson has been averaging over these past few years. 8.6. No, what was it? That was his touchdown rate. It was 8.6. What was yards per attempt? 8.8. 8.8 yards per attempt last year. 8.0 the year before that. But then, before that, 6.9 in 2022, 7.5 in 21, and 7.3 in 2020. And of course, I think he got better. That's partly why he averaged more yards per attempt. But also, they started leaning into a little bit more, wide receiver centric and pass heavy formations with Todd Monken early in his tenure. And now it's kind of been just, heavy personnel, and let's just try to get out of here with a win. And I think that's affecting Lamar. And obviously, athletically, he's not where he wants to be. So yeah, I don't have too much hope. We'll probably know when it happens, but I'm not gonna. I learned my lesson ranking him. I think he ended up as like my QB1 or 2 last week because of the matchup, and it just, if that matchup is like the best matchup in my model.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah. Are you like, if you can't have a good game against the Bengals, who can you have a good game against?
Well, it kind of factors in, right? So it's like I take the strength of schedule, and then the strength of schedule versus the strength. It keeps always kind of adjusting itself. So yeah, he got knocked down. That's why he is my quarterback 5 this week, just because he got knocked down for that dud against the Bengals, which happened very recently too. But Hurts is also sucking. So I thought you were. I'm going with Dak, obviously, but I think a better question would have been Hurts versus Lamar, because that, if you feel great if you drafted them, and then it's like, but actually, you're like heading into the playoffs, you're probably kind of shitting your pants a little, like, oh no, like, are we really here now with these two guys?
Yeah.
So
I would feel a little bit better of Lamar bouncing back, but it's definitely hard. And likely drop the ball on the 1-inch line, so that should have been a touchdown, but that's 3 games now without a touchdown. I think he'll break out of it. Maybe having a longer week, because they played on Thursday, will help get him back to 100%. But yeah, it's been rough. But What can you do? If you have him, you have to play him, obviously.
I think Zay Flowers should have had like 100 yards receiving last week, and at least in my model he did, and he had like 6. So it's just it's one of those things where, I mean, if you only have Zay Flowers and Bateman running routes at wide receiver, most prevalently, and Zay Flowers doesn't win, I mean, you're not working with as much as you see. You know what I mean? Like, there's just not much there. So, it's just a toss. Like, Hurts probably has the better. Like, he comes out of nowhere with good games sometimes when we're all doubting him, or like at least he'll get a game for AJ or Devontae. But with Jackson, it's just so unpredictable that it affects like Flowers, it affects Andrews. It's just been frustrating. Running back top 5 for week 14.
Let me pull it up. Haven't even seen it yet. This is always fun. Jahmyr Gibbs, number 1. Then I got Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane, Bijan Robinson, and James Cook.
Yep. Gibbs, Achane, Cook, Taylor, Bijan. Yeah, I feel good about that. 5. Yeah, I feel good about that, right? Yeah. It's like, I was listening, I'm like, okay, I haven't seen mine either, so it wasn't like that would just ring a bell necessarily. I was like, okay, it sounds about right, Gibbs, and then but Taylor's hasn't been as like, he hasn't been running away with that number 1 as of late. Some tougher matchups for Indy, I guess, but he is, that matchup against Jacksonville, probably another one that could go either way. But who are you high on?
Quinshon Judkins facing the Titans this week. This is just, smash spot for Judkins. The Browns are a rare 4-point home favorite against the Titans here. Backup Dylan Sampson's day-to-day with a calf injury, so he might not be 100%. I could see Judkins getting 20-plus carries here, maybe even 30 if things go according to plan. Plus, they've been using him in that Wildcat play near the goal line where it's, 100% chance he's going to get a goal line carry in that formation. So that's been a bonus. But, the Titans are a great matchup, but they have been better against the run of late. They were without T'Vondre Sweat for a handful of games. They had to face Jonathan Taylor twice in like a 3-game span, so that hurt their, DVOA rankings and things like that. So getting Sweat back was huge. And linebacker, Cedric Gray has been a beast. So, they have some decent pieces, Jeffrey Simmons there, but either way, this is still a good spot. And he should see, massive workload just given the expected game script. So he opens up as my RB11 to open the week.
Yeah, I mean, that's really their offense right now. If they can get to it, Quinshon Judkins. So, like that one, I think he is. Yeah, that Wildcat really helps because you don't get anything stolen, you don't get vultured. You're essentially just vulturing everyone, receivers, quarterbacks, whoever. I'm high on Kamani Vidal, just because, again, I don't like this matchup for the quarterbacks here, but I don't like the matchup for both quarterbacks. So I think that this game could be a pretty close game. And in that scenario, Vidal has been that lead back. They've been losing guys. So if Omarion Hampton comes back, which he could, obviously not. But even so, I mean, the coaching staff's kind of alluded to okay, we're going to do like a committee. Vidal's going to be involved here. So I wouldn't be surprised if Vidal kind of keeps up that, like a similar workload, kind of like a Swift and Mananjai thing as of late. But if Omarion Hampton's like limited in any way, or practices like once and it doesn't look like he's going to play his full role, love Vidal here because I think the Eagles may struggle to get a lead, and they have been a bottom 11. I want to say bottom 10, bottom 11 defense in DVOA against the run. And Vidal, I mean, it hasn't looked great. It hasn't been great matchup wise all the time because of the O-line struggles and whatnot, but he's more games than not. He's just breaking off a big run or two and just kind of looking like a monster out there. He does pass the eye test for me. So like him in this spot against Philly, especially if Hampton is just completely out again. Who are you low on?
Yeah. So this doesn't make him like a clear sit or anything, but I'm lower on Chase Brown this week against the Bills because, Samaje Perine return really ate into his workload a ton. They nearly split carries 15 to 14 in favor of Brown. And he was still able to rack up 7 catches, but Pirine was still, eating into his passing down work as well. So his increase in efficiency really helped counter that a bit. But he's been raking inside my top 10, sometimes my top 5 with Pirine out, because he was really just handling pretty much every snap. So this, really cuts into his usage in my model. And this should be more of a run funnel matchup against the Bills, but with Burrow back, I don't think they're going to lean on the run or anything. They're going to air it out. So, you have to hope that he does get 4+ catches again, which is kind of tough to do for a running back, because, they could get Higgins back this week. So, he's had Jamar Chase out, T. Higgins out. So he's been one of the top targets. But I think with, both Chase and Higgins back, it's going to be tougher for him to, get as many receptions to kind of make up for the lack of, playing time he's getting with Pirine there. So having said all that, he's still my running back 19. So you just have to kind of lower expectations. But there was a stretch there where it seemed like he was in my top 5, top 10 every week when Pirine was out.
Yeah, it's fair. He's definitely like a scary fake, because the Bills have been terrible against the run too, and they're probably not going to try to stop the run that much with Burrow back. Burrow will probably just be out there in the gun, and they'll just be like, all right, we're just going to go with our, nickel, dime, whatever personnel. So I do think Brown will get opportunities to be efficient, but you're right. If he gets less snaps, there's always a lot more risk there, because the Bengals have been a 8 to 10% over expectation at least pass rate team. They usually push 70% pass rate, which is the league average is usually around 60%. So don't mind the fade there. I'm gonna actually fade. Probably even scarier, but Swift and Menunjai against the Green Bay Packers, and they've been a little bit worse against the run and DVOA than the pass, but this is just a good defense that, the Eagles are too, but the Packers, I think they're just a little bit different of a breed. I think they could give Caleb Williams more struggles, and just make them kind of drive the field more and put them in more third downs. The Eagles, they'll play more man coverage, and you can kind of get back into favorable situations if you can get one on them. But I think the Packers are going to just load up here a little more and kind of against the pass. But I don't like that for the 2 running backs, because it's there's going to be no kind of predictability as far as okay, who's going to get more work here, because last week it was pretty much split, but Swift had the edge in passing downs, and then Menunjai had the edge in carries. So if they're 6.5, 7 point dog again here, I think that's more legit against Green Bay. I'm not as worried about Green Bay. I know they have had some letdowns, but Philly the writing's been on the wall with them, that they've been inflated in everybody's mind all year for me. I had them to miss the playoffs. That's not looking too good right now, but them and Detroit were the 2 teams I took to miss the playoffs before the season started. So the Packers, I have a Super Bowl ticket on. So I just think it's a completely different kind of spot. Division game, you could see more limited play volume here. So just a lot of things where when you have 2 running backs that are kind of near a 50-50 split, it just creates a lot of uncertainty unless you're in the best of matchups. If you're going against a Chicago Bears run defense or something like that, I think you have more confidence. But I don't think they're going to be able to do that to Eagles caliber defenses every week. And the Packers, because they play a little differently, the pass game could actually come into play a little bit more here at the expense of the running game. So not as high on as the market on them, who have them both kind of pushing the top 20 backs. They're still kind of, because it's 50-50, there's only so much carry variance on a weekly basis. So they're still more like flexes for me. Yeah, RB3 flex type guys, even with the explosion last week. Running back prop. Let's go with Swift, and let's go with that Bears backfield. Trying to think if I want to do it combined or against each other. Well, since they are both top, right now ECR has Swift 20 and Menunjai 21. So let's go with them combined. 'Cause I think that is kind of a bigger issue here, where it's like there's a lot of inverse correlation, I think, in some ways. So it's kind of like the Seahawks backfield at times with Charbonnet and Walker. So I'm gonna set their total scrimmage yardage at 110.5.
Ooh, yeah, I have it right around there. Yeah, it's a tough matchup. I'm gonna lean under, and hopefully Luther Burden's expanded role can be the reason why. Because they, back-to-back games where they've given him a design run, that pop pass, they're probably gonna be forced to throw a little bit more in this game. So yeah, I'll go with the under, but that's basically what I have it at.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's just kind of wanted to be able to kind of put that in perspective, just how much of an outlier two running backs having a game like that, especially against a good defense, is as a 7-point underdog. Because now they're 7-point essentially a 7-point underdog again, and yeah, we have it projected for about 110 yards total combined. So this, you got to temper expectations a little bit, and the other thing is that, if one kind of goes off, that's going to have a negative impact on the other one. So there's like a direct inverse correlation in certain areas, like probably touchdowns. Like there's certain things that can help. Like if Swift is ripping off like chunk plays on he gets less carries, but he's ripping off like 8-yard gains to get a new set of downs. That helps the early down back too. But at the end of the day, there's only so many. There's 7 EPA or whatever it is minus per drive minus the drive start. So. I think overall, not a great spot for them. Don't want to be too high on them. Wide receiver, who we got in the top 5?
Ooh, before I even look, I know JSN number 1. Then
not last week.
I didn't have him number 1. Oh yeah.
No, I'm saying
what did he end with?
Like 20 yards? I don't know. Something that I didn't notice.
That has to be his floor. Yeah, JSN to bounce back this week. Number 1, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Rashee Rice, and George Pickens.
Yeah, man, that sounds pretty right. That sounds pretty standard these days. Let's see. I got JSN, Puka, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, and Rashee Rice. So, and then Pickens number 6, and then Devontae Adams number 7. So yeah, it's kind of must-have guys in that top 7. Pour one out for Justin Jefferson, who's not probably not going to be returning to that.
Oof, yeah,
that tier anytime soon. I mean, McCarthy, Rosemer. Where's Carson Wentz when you need him, man?
I know.
Never thought I'd say that. Right.
I have actually, I haven't even factored in like Khalif Raymond being out. JMO might be pushing top 5.
Number 8. He's number 8 for me. Yeah. All right, who are you high on?
I am high on A.D. Mitchell. He is just clearly loaded with talent, but hasn't really had the opportunity yet or seen it all come together. But really, these past couple weeks, we sort of have been seeing the breakout happen because he's pretty much the top, I would say top 2 target for the Jets right now. And we've seen his routes run rate go up each of the last 3 games with them, topping out last week at 98%. So it looks like they're going to just want him out there pretty much every drop back if possible. And, the Jets were a little bit more pass heavy last week. I was on Tyrod's under. I just thought it was going to be a closer game. They can run the ball, but they were dropping back at an above average rate. So I think they're just more confident in Tyrod and this passing attack in general right now. So that's helping. And, A.D. Mitchell, for all the warts he has, he's been able to command targets at a very high rate. When he was with the Colts, and now with the Jets, even in a full-time role, he's commanding a 27% target rate. So we just saw it all come together last week with his 8 catches, 100+ yards and touchdowns. So I think, he sees the usage we want from like a wide receiver 3, but he has, the added upside because he is seeing downfield targets. Anytime he catches the ball, he's liable to score a touchdown if he doesn't drop it before he reaches the end zone. So I think he's going to be a wide receiver 3+ unless and until Garrett Wilson returns. So he opens this week specifically as my wide receiver 24 against the Dolphins. So I've always been high on him, but finally seeing it come together for him, where I can confidently project him inside my top 30 this week.
Yeah, I mean his targets per route rate throughout his career has always been in the mid-20s, right? So that's essentially wide receiver one right there. I think wide receiver ones in terms of like the number one guy in routes run every week would average about 21% or 22%, and then the number one guy in targets would be up around 25%. So yeah, he's essentially been like the first read when he's out there throughout his career. So I'm not surprised at all that he is finally starting to put it together. I mean, maybe a little bit because it's the Jets, but it's the Jets late in the year, so they're just kind of doing whatever. I'm high on Troy Franklin. Did not really do much in. Wait, did he? He didn't. What did he do last game? Now I'm forgetting.
It was a Cortland Sutton game, right?
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought. But I always, sometimes I confuse like the Sunday night game feels like the Monday night game, and I always feel like
2 catches, 21 yards.
Yeah. Okay. That's what. Yeah. I don't know. It was kind of bumping together because I always kind of tell myself, okay, like I got to still dive deeper into the Monday game because we usually record this on Tuesdays. But then sometimes the Sunday game gets lumped in with that as well because like I'm starting to project like the other games with the data we have from the daytime already by the time that game is underway. But yeah, so last week I think a lot of people probably were disappointed with Franklin, who I believe was pretty much at the same spot as Sutton in ECR rank. They were very close last week against Washington.
I think Franklin had one higher yard in the prop market.
Yeah, so the market, generally speaking, was high on Franklin last week. He let everybody down, so I'm sure there's going to be an overcorrection. I'm sure that's going to kind of affect people, setting their fantasy lineups as well. But this is the Franklin spot. Last week, I thought the Commanders were probably going to shift to different scheme. Still didn't really work out for Franklin, but this Raider team. I mean, if you talk about zone heavy, this Raider team has been the most zone heavy team in the league, and Troy Franklin is the Broncos by far top receiver against zone coverage. So against man coverage, Cortland Sutton has been a absolute beast. 2.7 yards per route run, according to PFF. And Troy Franklin's at 0.7 yards per route against man. But then when you flip it to zone, Troy Franklin has 1.9 and Sutton drops to 1.1. So it's like it's essentially they're doubling each other up on the, like Sutton is like twice as good as he normally is against a man, and then Franklin is the opposite against zone, with Sutton like actually taking a back seat against those coverages. And Bo Nix tends to struggle against zone coverage more, so that makes it would make sense why a guy like Sutton, the number one receiver, guy seeing the most coverage, and you have extra defenders back there in zone, which would kind of struggle in those matchups. So I think Franklin is going to do this week what the market was projecting him to do last week. So he's a guy that I don't want to lower too much just based on last week's game, because I think you're going to see that just kind of ebb and flow. And Sean Payton, very aware of these kind of things. I think I had Franklin for a touchdown in the last Raiders matchup, and it was the only touchdown they ended up scoring. So like Sean Payton kind of knows this stuff. So Franklin is a guy that I am high on at receiver. Who are you low on?
Yeah, I'm low on DJ Moore against the Packers. Came back down to earth last week with 37 total yards after that eruption where he had 5 catches, 64 yards, and 2 touchdowns against the Steelers. That was the perfect time to sell high on him if you had him. But I think with Luther Burden starting to see an increased role, I think that's going to really start to eat into DJ's value, because they still have Roma Dunze, Colston Loveland, and the running game is starting to really pop right now. But this is a tougher matchup against the Packers. I'm not really expecting a ton of passing yards either way. So he's all the way down to wide receiver 46 for me this week, and just with so many mouths to feed in this offense, I think he's really going to need somebody ahead of him, like a Dunze or Burden or Loveland possibly, to miss time to even be ranked inside my top 36 going forward, unless it's like a perfect matchup. But I think they have a really tough schedule down the stretch. So DJ Moore is trending down. He's been trending down a ton for me all season, but especially heading into the fantasy playoffs. He's outside my top 45 heading into week 14 here.
What do you have at Doomsday? Just curious.
Yeah, he's definitely hurt from, just all the things I talked about too, but all the way down to wide receiver 35.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because that's around the same I have him too, because Moore ended up running more routes than Doomsday last week. So I'm just, it's kind of tough to trust either of those guys, in anything but like a great matchup. So yeah, that is, I feel you on the Moore thing. I think Doomsday might be right there with him as far as being a little bit shaky as a fantasy starter this weekend, potentially going forward. I'm low on Lad McConkey this week, so just a matchup based thing. But he's usually a top, like a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, maybe a mid range wide receiver 2 if things get really crazy or Quentin Johnston's really popping. But this week, Lad McConkey is outside of my top 24 at wide receiver, just misses the cut. So against this Eagles defense, don't have a ton of confidence in this Charger passing game period. I mean, there's still a chance we could get Trey Lance, but even if we get Herbert, I mean, I still think this is a tough. I mean, you alluded to a really tough matchup here for the and then you have the potential for a guy like Cooper DeJean to just stay in the slot or wherever McConkey goes and kind of play it that way. So I think it would probably be either Keenan Allen or Johnston would be more likely to be the guy that they end up going to a lot. But if it's a wide receiver, but they do have a tough matchup at tight end as well. So I think Johnston and Allen, or maybe they go with more like Trey Harris and those 1-3 looks that they can roll out sometimes. But either way, I just think McConkey is not nearly the guy we could trust that he is most weeks, even when he's competing with like a fully healthy everybody else, which is the case now. He's usually inside again that top 20, and he's just not that this week. And he could, I mean, if Trey Lance starts for Herbert, that's a downgrade of what, like 100 passing yards, 50 to 100 passing yards.
I was gonna say probably triple digits or close to it.
So that's 20 yards. I mean, that's more than 20 yards, or essentially.
Yeah.
That would be what, another 0.2 touchdowns, something, whatever it is. So yeah, there's potential for just a huge projected floor for McConkey that's already kind of taken shape just because the matchup as is gives the Chargers one of I'm pretty sure their lowest projection in terms of like offense for the season. So this could be a tough spot for him. And then there's also the chance that they play better than expected, don't have to throw as much, and he gets kind of shut out that way too. If like it ends up just being a Vidal game or Vidal and Hampton or something like that. So just a lot of ways I could see McConkey having a floor game in this spot. Don't love it this week. All right, wide receiver prop.
You know where I'm going with this. It's AD Mitchell week on the fantasy flex. So let's try to cap his receiving yard prop, which admittedly is a wide range of outcomes, but we'll try it. 51.5.
Ooh, that sounds high for a Jets receiver. Let's see what I got that. If I give him the full 98% route rate that he had last week and don't factor in any of the other games at all, he would come out to exactly 51 in average, which his median would still be a little bit lower than that. But, they, like you said, they passed a little more than expected. So obviously the number one receiver is going to benefit from that too. So I think he could, the number one receiver for the Jets since Wilson went down hasn't really been necessarily always up at 98%. So I think there's still a chance, he could be the number one receiver and get 95, 90, depending what they do with the, how many goal line plays or whatever. So I think I got to go under here.
Yes.
Just too volatile, but it's not. Actually, no, I don't even mind it because it's AD Mitchell. It's AD Mitchell and it's the Jets. I mean, I think if there's ever a guy that's not going to stack big games one on another, it's probably AD Mitchell. He'll find it.
I agree. He has a wide range of outcomes, so I think adding a couple yards to kind of lead you to the under is worth it because he's probably going to 22 or 102. He's probably not going to finish with like 53, right there. I think I think it'd be tougher to like have a range of outcomes. Like, is he going to finish between 35 and 65? And I'll give you like minus 110 each way on that. That'd be tougher. But
yeah,
just like he had that 52-yard touchdown. Where that's kind of the play you expect. The defender fell down. But there was a play, it was like a 10-yard play by the sideline where he dragged his feet. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I think he's finally arrived because I think he's like the only player that's had like a perfect RAS score, the athletic score. Like he's an athletic freak. He just hasn't had those little nuanced things, but you finally saw those come together last week. Which is exciting to see. So I don't know. I'm going to ride the train a little bit. It's AD Mitchell. We never know what we're going to get. So yeah, he has a very low floor. I think his prop will be in that 50-yard range. What would you say the best way to invest in him is? Probably just touchdown, like upside.
Touchdown, longest catch.
Yeah.
Something like that. Just because you figure that they're going to try to get him shot plays. And big plays, maybe this is the week where they try to spring him on like one of those rush attempts or something like that. There's a lot of creative ways to do that, but yeah, median wise, it's a lot tougher. It's just
right
because you had Mechie actually ran 100% route rate, so it's like he's also still a threat for targets, and it's just if Mitchell doesn't catch a long one, and they're doing that could kind of benefit other receivers, especially Mechie. So it's just. There's a wide range of outcomes, but the fact that he's like right there at top 2, I mean, far and away, he should be, expected to lead them in air yards because Mechie is more, kind of a different receiver.
Yeah, but they were giving AD like a ton of like 5 to 10 yard looks. But yeah, I think
we want that. Yeah,
yeah, you don't want to take his median prop. If anything, just like his alt over 70 plus receiving yards at like plus 300. Those are still the ways I would probably invest in him. Then, a coin flip at 50.5. I agree. I don't think he's a median player quite yet. But he's seeing just a ton of usage where he's much more likely to have a 100-yard game. Now, he is coming off a 100-yard game, so the market is well aware of it. But still, I think the best way to invest in him is like alt overs, probably.
Yeah, that's what I'll go under on the on the 51 and you said 51.5, right? Yeah, I'll go under that. That's my average is 51, so I think that is a good number. But there's a little inflation kind of baked into that, which he's going to when he has a big game, he's going to have a big game. But I actually feel I feel better about the under for a guy like that because it's unders for most players are usually just going to hit at a high rate over the long term. So we'll go with that under. Could make me look stupid, but let's go to tight ends. Who do you have in your top 5 for week 14?
I got Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, Travis Kelce, Tyler Warren, and Mark Andrews.
There's a bunch of guys pushing that are quite interesting. But I got McBride, Bowers, Warren, Kelce, and Gaddison. But Brenton Strange, it looks like my tight end 6 right now, and then Jake Ferguson's up there too. So there could be a pretty interesting top 10 is going to be really interesting. I think this week.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you have? Who else is in your top 10?
Well, it's the guy I'm high on. If we just want to skip to that part,
let's do it.
Zach Ertz is pushing top 5. Your guy, he's my tight end 7. But yeah, I think Mark Andrews is a little too high. So I mean, Ertz might pass up Andrews and be in my top 5 by the end of the week. But Ertz is coming off that massive 10-catch 160-yard game last week. I think Ertz and AD Mitchell were the only players to clear 100 receiving yards last week, which is kind of crazy to think. But yeah, Ertz is coming off a 100-yard game.
Jamar Chase didn't do it.
Did he
have like 110? I think he had 100.
Possibly. I think I saw a tweet somewhere, and they're like, they fucked up, and they got something wrong. But Jamar Chase had 110. So let's say it was those 3 players then. You just assume
JMO had 101, I think, or 100 and something, right? Yeah, I got
to find this tweet, and then I didn't know
You
if I
were the
should believe
tweet.
the Abdul
Just
Carter,
kidding.
why he got suspended for the first drive. I thought that was a joke. Who knows if that was real or not?
It's
But
because AI, bro. Everything is just
can't.
like AI would just tell you shit that's like it doesn't care if it's true.
Besides the point, Zach Ertz and AD Mitchell had pretty good weeks last week, and Ertz has just been, steadily, seeing an 80% routes run rate, steadily seeing a 24% target rate over these last 7 games. And this is a matchup against the Vikings. They blitz at the highest rate, and Ertz's yards per route run rate goes up about a quarter of a yard against the blitz. So there's a lot of things I like about Ertz this week. He obviously has a high floor right now, even with Terry back. If anything, Terry just opens things up for Ertz over the middle. So yeah, he's my tight end 7 to open the weekend. My dynasty team, I think I just officially missed the playoffs, but I have at tight end, I have Trey McBride, Tyler Warren, Mark Andrews, and Zach Ertz. So if you're listening out there, I have some tight ends on the market. I desperately need running backs and a quarterback. So a lot of experts are in my league. So I'm going to be wheeling and dealing, but I might have to trade Ertz to a team that's making the playoffs this year. But yeah, Ertz is just playing way too well to have outside of my top 10 heading into this week.
It's funny you say that because he's actually my tight end 11.
Oh,
But,
really?
I'm not. It's
Who
more
the
that
hell
I'm
do you have
high
in front of him?
Bro, like
there's a lot of guys this week.
Ferguson. Yeah. It's just kind of the usual suspects.
Fannin in there, or?
I hope so. Let's see.
Yeah, because I have like Fannin and Barner right there.
Nah, not Fannin. He's too. He's too Shidori. He's number 12 right after Ertz. He's number 12. And then we don't know if Kincaid is going to play yet. Goddard could trend up a little bit just because it's more of a zone matchup, but Chargers tend to still do well against tight ends not named Bowers. So yeah, we'll see it. We'll see how that goes. But
where do you have Waller? Where is Waller up there?
15.
Yeah. He's he could be in our top 10 next week if he keeps this up. So just a lot of good options at tight end.
Yeah, it's. Finally. It's been kind of. It's been like draft wise, I guess it's kind of a crapshoot, but I feel like we've been talking about Fannin, Theo Johnson, pretty consistently all year, and then we got Loveland started to come on at points, and so yeah, it's been. I think like down the stretch, tight end probably better than quarterback. Quarterback has been a struggle over the past few weeks. Just it's like Trevor Lawrence, like oh man, like if you didn't have Brissett. Brissett was great, but it's like I would hope he had gotten picked up, like you said, that second start. But
you're high on Brenton Strange, right?
I'm looking. Yeah, no, I didn't put it in the doc. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, no, Brent.
I'm assuming.
I
guess you're high on him.
You've been
talking about he's inside your top 10 for Christ's sake. So
yeah. No, I've been talking about him for a while just because he's kind of like a Fannin guy, but on a team that I trust to throw the ball a little bit more. That's still very untrustworthy is Trevor Lawrence to me, but Strange, we talked about it last week. He's just kind of got some of those markers of a consistent player in terms of the amount of receptions been hitting, like more than 2/3 of the time, 4+ catches, and then, had the touchdown. And that was the one thing I was saying, heading into last week was that, okay, he's been getting the catches. He missed the game, which, kind of makes it look even like worse than it's better than it even looks on the box scores, but he hadn't been getting much red zone work. It had always been like a Hunter Long or a Johnny Munt, Quentin Morris. You never know who's going to pop up there. And like Strange wouldn't even be on the field for some of those routes. Like they would take him off the field. So, now he's starting to see more work in the red zone, consistently operating like a true number 1 tight end. I think all the tight ends were actually healthy last week, and Long was just technically a healthy scratch. But either way, I don't think anyone's cutting into his usage. He's playing normal tight end 1 snaps, and in this offense with Thomas back, you have to kind of look. You have to guard the receivers first and foremost, and then the running backs are so involved. Tootin and Etienne, that Strange is usually going to be an afterthought. I think in terms of coverage, he's going to get favorable matchups against linebackers, probably almost every pass play. So yeah, unless you're talking about a team that's going to play a ton of dime, and even then, I think he's still going to get like the most advantageous coverage matchup, the least coverage rotated over to him on a consistent basis going forward for the Jags here. So like him yet again against the Colts. Who are you low on?
Yeah, I hate to do this, but got to go with my guy, Rondé Gadsden here. Hopefully I jinx him and he has a good week because of this. But facing the Eagles this week, again, we don't even know if it's going to be Justin Herbert or Trey Lance under center. Obviously, if it's Trey Lance, that makes us easier to sit him. But yeah, Gadsden's usage has definitely taken a bit of a hit the last couple of games. Just a 14% target rate. And just have to wonder if that knee quad injury he had a couple weeks ago, he's playing through it. Maybe that's been kind of what's slowing him down. But his targets have also been more downfield, which is going to make him more of a boom bust. We saw that last week. He had the one catch; it went for 27 yards. But again, he's going to have higher variance if he's seeing more downfield looks like that. And it was a game where the Chargers won easily. Herbert missed some time. They have a lot of mouths to feed. So it was bound. We were bound to see Gadsden have a floor game or two. I mentioned that, every tight end outside of Trey McBride or Brock Bowers maybe is going to have some down games. So we saw that the past couple of games, but it has been concerning. And this is, a tough spot here against the Eagles. So he opens as my tight end 14. But, after just being inside my top 5, top 10 for a handful of weeks, I'm a little bit lower on him this week.
Yeah, I still like manually forcing. I'm still manually forcing him into the top 5. If not, it would be Brenton Strange. Like I don't know. I guess I probably should just go with Brenton Strange. Maybe where's Ferguson? But I don't love the matchup for Ferguson either.
Right.
I mean, he's always good, but
yeah,
I think the wide receivers could potentially create a lot of variance there. So yeah, it's a tough week. Obviously stay tuned to the rankings on fantasylabs.com for the most up-to-date ranks. But yeah, it's tough at tight end because there's just a lot of guys that you don't usually kind of have ranked there, and then Gadsden is tough matchup. So see about that.
5 to 15 are all within 1 point.
Yeah,
less than a half a point between tight end 6 to tight end 15 for me. So just a tight week in that sit start range.
Yeah, it's it's just so the guy that I can't get to that's in ECR right now is kind of like what you said, where it's oh man, I hate to do this guy, but Colson Loveland is he's all these Bears pass catchers for me just are canceling each other out at this point. It's because Burden is essentially just now drawing even with everybody else because he's more efficient, but he still runs fewer routes. And then Loveland's kind of in that same category where he's not running. He's not going to run a Dunze more routes, I think, on a consistent basis with Kmet. There now he'll have some games where he does run a lot more routes than Kmet, just depending on how the game script goes and the scheme that week. But overall, I just think we're talking about all these guys and it's kind of pushing top 10, top 5 even. For me, Loveland is still more of a clear tight end too, and he's tight end number 12 in ECR. Yeah, so and this is a tough Packers defense. So the one good thing is they play a lot of zone coverage. That should help tight ends, but Loveland is one of those tight ends that can beat man coverage. So he's not necessarily going to improve, or he's not in line to kind of improve that much as a more traditional tight end would be in this matchup. So yeah, Loveland for me is the guy I am low on, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Do you have Kincaid back this week? Is he where?
Yeah, I have Kincaid back to open the week. It's always tricky in those spots, but yeah, I have Kincaid tight end 18.
Yeah, have him at 13 actually, and that's with a decreased snap rate, just because I think this is a good matchup for him. It's the Cincinnati Bengals against tight ends. You can't. I don't think I could. He might be the tight end 5 if he suits up. That's how this week it seems like it's going. There's just so much. Everyone's so close. But let's go with a prop. And man, But let's see. There's so many ways to go. I'm gonna try to see if I can get a couple guys into this one prop. Trey McBride plus Colston Loveland yardage versus Kyle Pitts and Darren Waller.
Okay, got it. Are you setting a spread or?
We'll make the McBride side the half-yard favorite.
Yeah, I'll take the McBride. So I get McBride and Loveland, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take the McBride side.
Yeah, because I just wanted to put like a very consistent guy with guys that like we don't really know who are like on that. So yeah, like I think I have Loveland and like Waller. They're all kind of vying for like tight end 15. So I know people, and then in consensus they're higher. So I think people are going to be considering starting those two guys. But yeah, Pitts finally had a yardage game last week, right? So
yeah, but London, he's questionable. We don't even know if he's playing. If he's back,
it sounds like he's back. So that's why I'm like, okay, what's gonna? But is it like a Cousins thing or just a purely London thing?
Yeah, I don't know, but London being back would help, lower Pitts for me. But yeah, Waller has a ton of upside. He could easily, destroy this. So yeah,
or decide to retire.
Yeah. They're playing well right now. He's probably having some fun. But I think he could pull like an AB. But yeah, that's a fun one. But yeah, definitely give me the McBride side.
Yeah, I was like, I could have done. I guess I could have gone with like Bowers too, but yeah, just wanted to get like somebody like very predictable with a bunch of guys who aren't predictable at all. But I'm not gonna make you guess if Kincaid is gonna actually return. Just watch if he doesn't get a full practice in, like if he doesn't get or even multiple full practices, it might not be looking
probably
good.
Set. Yeah,
because the Bills are just one of those teams that are very conservative. So that's why even like I think earlier than most, I was just projecting him at 0 once I saw he logged like a limited on a Friday, I think. So just like, yeah, he's a guy that if you're planning on starting, because it's a good matchup, he would rank like tight end 6 for me, literally, if he was running like maybe like 5% lower than his normal route expectation against Cincinnati. But there would be like a 50% chance he does not play, so you'd want to have another option. That game is at what time is that? So it is a 1 p.m. window game, so at least you'll know it to have somebody ready. Strange. You have like so many guys, so definitely want to pick up one of them if you have Kincaid. But I would plan on starting Kincaid even if you've been rolling with somebody else, because this is just a great matchup. So complicated tight end situation here, but that is going to wrap it up for our NFL player projections episode for week 14 here on the Fantasy Flex podcast. Be sure to check out Fantasy Labs for all of our fantasy football and DFS content, models, tools, and we'll be back with the DFS show next. And we have the touchdown show, of course, on the Action Network podcast later in the week with Joe Gallant. Our waivers episode already out. Sean is on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. Follow Playbook as well. We're at those same handles in the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this money.